Before the sun rises, before the world stirs, before you check your messages or open your eyes to the noise of another day, pause. Take a breath. Because this morning, heaven is waiting to meet you. There is something sacred about the stillness before the day begins. The sky is painted in soft blues and gentle golds, and creation itself seems to whisper, God is here. And maybe you've been running lately, running to deadlines, running after people, running away from things you don't even understand. But right now, before you take your first step, heaven calls you to slow down, to stop chasing and start listening. Because every battle you will face today has already been seen by the one who goes before you. Every challenge, every unseen stress, every hidden fear. God already stands at the doorway of your day, waiting to walk it with you. But here's the key. You cannot receive the strength of heaven if you don't stop long enough to reach for it. That's why prayer is not a ritual. It's not something you add to your morning. It is the breath of your morning. Prayer is what transforms an ordinary sunrise into a divine beginning. When you pray first, you invite heaven to move before you move. You align your thoughts before chaos has a chance to twist them. You declare, this day will not rule me. God will. Maybe you woke up heavy today. Maybe something inside you feels uncertain, tired, or anxious. You're not alone. Life has a way of stealing peace before the day even begins. But if you can bring that weight into the light of prayer, everything begins to shift. Because prayer is where perspective changes. It's where you hand over what you cannot control, and in exchange receive the peace that surpasses understanding. It's where you stop trying to carry the day alone and let God carry it for you. Sometimes people think prayer is about words, about saying the right thing, the holy thing, the eloquent thing. But God isn't impressed by the vocabulary of your mouth. He's moved by the honesty of your heart. If all you can whisper is, Lord, help me, He hears it like a symphony. If all you can do is cry and say nothing at all, heaven still translates every tear into language. Because prayer was never about performance. It's about presence. It's about letting your Creator step into your morning before worry does. It's about surrender, not strategy. Now imagine this: you wake up tomorrow, and before you touch your phone, you whisper, God, I give you this day. That single sentence becomes a seed. And as the hours unfold, when a problem appears, when traffic slows you down, when someone frustrates you, that seed of prayer blooms quietly inside you. You begin to react differently. You begin to carry peace that doesn't make sense. That's the invisible power of praying first. Every sunrise carries two choices. You can walk into the day with your own strength, or you can walk into it wrapped in divine strength. You can fight battles on your own, or you can hand them over before they even start. The difference between anxiety and assurance often begins in the first 5 minutes of your morning. Because what you invite first sets the tone for everything else. If you invite God in, you're not just asking Him to bless your plans. You're allowing Him to shape them. Maybe you've been asking, why does my day always feel heavy? Why does it always spiral so quickly? Perhaps it's because you've been trying to run a marathon without breathing. Prayer is that breath. It's oxygen for the spirit, clarity for the mind, and fire for the soul. The truth is, when you pray first, you don't just start your day differently. You start yourself differently. Your mindset shifts. Your emotions soften. Your focus sharpens. You stop reacting and you start responding. You stop being pulled by pressure and you start being led by peace. And that peace becomes contagious. The more you pray before the world begins to pull you, the more the world begins to notice something different about you. It's not that you don't face problems. It's that you carry presence. When storms rise, your peace confuses people. When situations collapse, your faith stands tall. That's what happens when you start your day with God. You stop walking to blessings and start walking with the blesser. Now, close your eyes for a moment and imagine this scene. The first light of dawn is breaking through your window. The air is soft. You're still half awake. You whisper, God, thank you for another day. You feel that small warmth in your chest, that gentle stirring inside, that's heaven answering. That's the Spirit reminding you, you're not alone. You're never alone. Each morning is a divine invitation to realign, to recharge, to rebuild your inner peace. Because when you wake up and pray, you don't just speak to God, you allow God to speak into you. He begins to download calmness where there was chaos, direction where there was confusion, hope where there was heaviness. Sometimes you won't feel it immediately. Prayer isn't always about feeling. It's about faith. Even when your emotions are quiet, God is still moving. Even when you don't hear a whisper, His presence is there, constructing blessings you can't yet see. Think of it like this. When you pray first, you give God permission to paint your day before the world stains it. And in time, you begin to notice miracles you used to overlook. Small delays that save you from something unseen. Unexpected kindness in the middle of stress. A sudden solution to a problem you didn't know how to fix. These are not coincidences. They are divine fingerprints on your day, placed there because you prayed first. You might think it's simple. A few minutes of quiet, a short prayer before work, a psalm whispered before sunrise. But those moments are spiritual investments. They open portals of favor. They set divine order in motion. They protect your peace before the enemy even has a chance to steal it. Every time you pray before your day begins, you are saying, God, I trust you more than I trust my schedule. You are saying, I believe that your timing is better than my timing. You are saying, I will not be mastered by business. I will be moved by your Spirit. And that's where power begins. Not in the rush of the morning, but in the reverence of it. When you start your day with prayer, something shifts in the unseen. You may not notice it at first. The same sky stretches overhead. The same traffic hums outside your window. The same challenges wait on your calendar. But heaven has already moved. The atmosphere around you has changed. Because prayer doesn't just prepare you for what's coming. It prepares what's coming for you. There's a rhythm to divine alignment. It begins in the quiet moments of surrender, long before the noise begins. When you say, God, lead me today, you're not just speaking into the air. You're setting coordinates in the Spirit. You're allowing heaven to redirect every step, every encounter, every decision. And suddenly, you find yourself in the right places, meeting the right people, receiving the right words. Not because of luck, but because of alignment. When you pray first, you start walking under open heavens. You begin to notice how things flow easier, how peace replaces panic, how provision appears without pressure. Because where there is prayer, there is preparation. And where there is preparation, there is promise. Sometimes we think success comes from doing more, running faster, working harder. But divine success, the kind that lasts, comes from doing less without God and more with Him. When you put God first in your morning, you are placing divine order on your entire day. And whatever begins with God cannot end in chaos. Prayer is not about escaping responsibility. It's about inviting divine wisdom into it. It's where you trade anxiety for awareness and frustration for flow. It's where you stop forcing outcomes and start trusting orchestration. The truth is, your life is not random. Every closed door, every delay, every unexpected turn, all of it is part of divine choreography. And prayer tunes your spirit to that rhythm. It's like learning to dance to a song only heaven can hear. When you start your day without prayer, you move to the rhythm of the world, rushed, reactive, restless. But when you start your day with prayer, you move to the rhythm of heaven, calm, confident, and covered. Have you ever noticed that when you rush into your day, things fall apart faster? You lose patience. You make mistakes. You feel scattered and stretched thin. But when you begin with prayer, even when chaos comes, something in you stays still. The outside may shake, but the inside stands firm. That's alignment. And alignment brings peace. It's the kind of peace that makes no sense to the world. The peace that smiles in storms, that sings through uncertainty, that believes even when there's no visible reason to. You see, when you pray first, you are not asking God to remove the storm. You're asking Him to remind you who controls it. Prayer doesn't always calm the sea around you, but it always calms the sea within you. It's the anchor that keeps your soul steady when everything else feels like drifting. Sometimes you'll start your day and everything still goes wrong. Traffic jams, bad news, unexpected stress. But here's the mystery of grace. What the enemy designed to drain you, God uses to develop you. And prayer helps you see that. It helps you recognize divine fingerprints on what once looked like frustration. Because prayer isn't just about changing your circumstances. It's about changing your sight. When you see through faith, you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what are you teaching me? That's when peace enters. That's when growth begins. There's a quiet kind of power that comes from beginning your day in the presence of God. It's not loud or dramatic. It's subtle, steady, strong. It's in the way you respond differently when someone tests your patience. It's in the way your mind stays clear when confusion tries to cloud it. It's in the way you find gratitude in moments that used to make you grumble. That's not coincidence. That's transformation. And it starts every morning, right where your knees touch the ground and your heart opens up. When you pray before your day begins, heaven starts to assign help. Angels move on your behalf. Grace prepares the road ahead. Doors that would have stayed locked begin to open quietly. You don't see all the moving pieces, but you can feel the guidance. It's as if life itself begins to cooperate with you. And when you move through your day with that awareness, when you walk knowing that heaven is backing your every step, fear begins to lose its power. You stop being controlled by worry and start being guided by wisdom. You stop chasing control and start walking in confidence. The reason prayer changes your day is because it changes your state. When you pray, your nervous system relaxes. Your heart slows. Your thoughts clear. Your spirit remembers. And that's when clarity comes. That sudden knowing, that unshakable calm. It's not you figuring things out. It's God whispering direction in silence. Maybe there's something you've been anxious about. A decision, a relationship, a financial situation. You've been carrying it thinking, if I just plan enough, if I just push harder. But what if the answer isn't in pushing, but in pausing? What if the strategy is surrender? Because sometimes the door you're trying to force open will only unlock after prayer softens your heart. Prayer shifts everything. It turns panic into patience, confusion into clarity, and striving into stillness. It's where God does his finest work, not in the noise of effort, but in the quiet of trust. And that's why mornings matter, because mornings shape momentum. When you start the day aligned with heaven, you attract favor without even chasing it. You speak with grace. You walk with confidence. You think with clarity. You move through your day as a vessel, not a victim. Prayer becomes your secret armor. You might still face the same word, but the world no longer faces the same you. You're different now, covered, anchored, anointed. And when you live from that place, opportunities find you. Peace follows you. Provision flows toward you. There's a saying that the early bird gets the worm. But heaven says, the praying heart gets the blessing. The first to pray is the first to rise above worry. The first to surrender is the first to receive. Because what you put first determines what follows. If you put fear first, stress follows. If you put prayer first, peace follows. It's divine law. So, tomorrow morning, before you check the time, before you think of your to-do list, before you let the noise of life fill your mind, stop. Whisper, God, thank you for this breath. That simple act calls heaven close. And when heaven draws near, nothing ordinary can stay the same. That's the secret of alignment. It's not about perfect words. It's about consistent surrender. When you give God your mornings, he gives you his strength for the rest of the day. And one morning, you'll look back and realize it wasn't just prayer changing your mornings. It was prayer changing your life. There's something sacred that happens when you begin your morning in prayer. Heaven starts to move in ways you can't see. While you're still sitting in silence, still whispering your amen, things are already shifting in the unseen. Phone calls you haven't made yet begin to align. Opportunities you didn't know existed begin to form. Hearts you thought were closed begin to soften. Because prayer is not passive, it's creative. It builds bridges in the invisible before you take your first step in the visible. When you pray before your day begins, you're planting seeds that will grow long after the morning fades. You may not see them immediately, but you'll feel their fruit in the peace that stays with you, in the strength that rises in you, in the favor that follows you. Have you ever had one of those days where everything just seems to flow? Where doors open, where people are kind, where solutions appear before problems finish forming? That's not coincidence. That's divine coordination. And most of the time, that kind of flow begins in quiet prayer. Because prayer doesn't just invite God to bless your day. It gives Him permission to direct it. It's the difference between saying, God, walk with me, and saying, God, lead me. And when you let Him lead, He doesn't just bring peace. He brings provision. Provision doesn't always mean money or material things. Sometimes provision comes as wisdom. Sometimes it comes as energy when you thought you couldn't go on. Sometimes it's a person who appears at the right moment with the right word. Sometimes it's an idea that lights up your mind like sunrise. That's God's provision. Quiet. Creative, consistent. Prayer releases that flow. Because when you start your day by connecting with heaven, you're not just preparing for what's next. You're connecting to the source that already knows what's next. The world tells you to wake up and grind. Heaven tells you to wake up and align. The world says, you've got to hustle to make things happen. Heaven says, be still and know that I am God. The greatest victories are not always born from striving, but from surrender. Not from rushing, but from resting in divine order. When you begin your day with prayer, you release control. You're saying, God, I don't need to figure out everything today. I just need to walk in step with you. And when you walk in that rhythm, even your smallest steps carry supernatural weight. The most powerful people are not always the busiest. They are the ones who begin in stillness. Because stillness is not weakness. Stillness is strategy. It's where you receive insight that others miss because they're moving too fast to listen. There's something sacred about starting your day by saying, God, give me eyes to see what you see. When you pray like that, you begin to notice things differently. The same situation that once frustrated you becomes a classroom of grace. The same problem that once scared you becomes a platform for testimony. Prayer changes not just what happens to you, but how you perceive it. That's why the Bible says, in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your path. That's not poetic language. It's divine instruction. When you start your day by acknowledging God, you give Him authority to direct your steps. You stop wandering in circles and start walking in purpose. And the beautiful part, you don't have to pray perfectly. You don't have to use fancy words. God isn't grading your grammar. He's reading your heart. If all you can whisper is, Lord, I need you, that's enough to open the heavens. If all you can do is sit in silence, that's enough for His presence to fill the room. Prayer is not a task. It's a touch. It's not about saying something. It's about becoming still enough to hear something. It's not about how long you pray. It's about how open your heart is when you do. You could spend 5 minutes in genuine prayer and shift the entire atmosphere of your day. Because in those 5 minutes, you're not just talking, you're connecting, you're charging your spirit, you're aligning your thoughts with eternity. Every morning is a divine exchange. When you pray, you trade your weakness for His strength. You trade your anxiety for His assurance. You trade your fear for His faith. And the world cannot take what heaven has given. Some mornings, you'll wake up heavy. You'll feel the weight of yesterday sitting on your chest. The bills, the stress, the unfinished dreams. All of it waiting to remind you that life is loud. But that's exactly when prayer matters most. Because prayer doesn't deny your pain. It redefines it. It doesn't erase your struggles. It invites God into them. Prayer says, Lord, I can't carry this, but you can. And right there, something breaks. The weight lifts. The air changes. Peace begins to fill the cracks of your soul. That's not psychology. That's presence. When you pray, you let light in. You give the Holy Spirit permission to rearrange your thoughts, to wash away the worry that's been sitting too long, to breathe new life into the parts of you that have forgotten how to hope. And little by little, your life begins to change. You start to notice that you're no longer reacting the way you used to. You don't panic like you once did. You don't cling to things that aren't for you anymore. Because prayer has matured you. It's made you stronger without hardening you. It's made you peaceful without making you passive. It's made you humble without making you hopeless. And the more you pray, the more you realize God was never asking for perfection. He was asking for participation. He doesn't need you to perform. He wants you to partner. Each morning, when you wake up and whisper that first prayer, you are partnering with heaven for the next 24 hours of your life. And heaven responds. Always, not always in the way you expect, but always in the way you need. Because prayer is not a monologue. It's a conversation. And sometimes God's answer is silence. But even in silence, He's speaking, guiding, guarding, growing you. When you begin your day with prayer, your entire world begins to look different. The same problems no longer intimidate you. The same fears no longer hold you. Because something greater inside you begins to rise. That's what happens when prayer becomes your first language. You stop begging God to show up and start realizing He already has. You stop fearing what's next and start trusting who's leading. And every step you take, every word you speak, every move you make begins to carry the fragrance of faith. People notice it. They see peace on your face and wonder where it comes from. They hear calm in your voice and feel comforted by it. You become a living example of divine stillness in a restless world. And that's the quiet miracle of a praying morning. It doesn't just change your day. It changes the world around you. There's a moment in every morning prayer when silence takes over. No words, no requests, just presence. That's the moment heaven leans in. Because God isn't moved by noise. He's moved by nearness. You don't have to impress Him. You just have to invite Him. And when you do, something sacred unfolds. A peace that makes no sense. A strength that doesn't come from sleep. A joy that feels borrowed from eternity. That's the quiet miracle of prayer. It doesn't change God. It changes you. It molds your heart to trust Him more deeply, to see His hand in everything. It tunes your spirit to heaven's rhythm so that even in chaos you can still move with grace. Prayer prepares you for the day in ways nothing else can. It's not a routine. It's your spiritual armor. It guards your mind from negativity, your heart from fear, and your purpose from distraction. When you pray before you step out, you don't walk out alone. You walk out with peace as your companion, with wisdom as your counsel, and with favor as your unseen bodyguard. There are days when storms come early. The phone rings, the message arrives, the news hits, and suddenly everything feels uncertain. But if you've already prayed, you won't break. Because prayer anchors you before the waves arrive. You'll stand where others stumble. You'll stay calm where others crumble. Not because you're stronger, but because you're grounded. That's the beauty of a praying morning. It doesn't stop trouble from coming, but it stops trouble from winning. Because you've already surrendered the outcome. You've already placed it in the hands that never fail. Every morning, heaven gives you a fresh portion of mercy, but you have to collect it through prayer. Like manna in the wilderness, it's waiting. But only the ones who wake up early in spirit, who reach with faith, receive it. When you pray, you're gathering that spiritual manna. You're saying, Lord, I receive today's grace. You're not trying to survive on yesterday's faith. You're not living on last week's hope. You're walking with fresh mercy, and that changes everything. Because when your spirit is fed, your mind is clear. When your soul is aligned, your decisions carry power. You become more intentional, more peaceful, more discerning. Prayer doesn't make life easier. It makes you stronger for the life you're meant to live. Some people wake up and check their phones first. But the wise wake up and check their spirit. Because what you focus on first becomes your compass for the day. If the first voice you hear is fear, you'll carry anxiety all day. If the first thing you see is chaos, your heart will mirror it. But if the first presence you encounter is God's, peace becomes your default setting. You'll notice how even the smallest things begin to change. The traffic jam won't steal your joy. The rude comment won't shake your calm. The delay won't make you doubt, because you've already started your day rooted in something deeper. Prayer becomes your reset button. No matter how loud the world gets, you can always return to that place within you where God whispers, "Be still." And when you live from that stillness, blessings follow naturally, because God never leads without provision. He doesn't send you into the day without equipping you for it. The right opportunities, the right people, the right timing, all start aligning like stars over your path. You don't have to chase blessings. You just have to chase His presence. Prayer positions you to receive. It's not about asking for more. It's about becoming more aware of what's already yours. Peace is already promised. Favor is already written. Grace is already flowing. Prayer opens your eyes to see it. When you pray before the day begins, you're essentially saying, "Lord, let me not miss what you've already prepared." And when you live with that awareness, life feels lighter. You stop striving. You start trusting. You stop panicking. You start praising. Every morning, prayer is a love letter exchanged between Creator and creation. It's a reminder that you are seen, heard, and chosen. You're not just another face in the crowd. You're a divine design with a purpose heaven still unfolds every morning you wake up. So before you rush into your plans, pause. Breathe. Whisper something simple. Thank you for another sunrise. Thank you for another chance to walk with you. And in that whisper, miracles begin. The heavens smile. Angels take their assignments. Peace fills your home like warm light through a window. Because that's what happens when gratitude becomes your greeting to God. It shifts the spiritual atmosphere of your entire day. Even your body responds. Your heart rate slows, your mind clears, your energy aligns. Science calls it calm. Heaven calls it communion. When you start your day in prayer, you're not escaping life. You're entering it from the right doorway. You're walking into your day through faith, not fear. Through peace, not panic. Through purpose, not pressure. And with each sunrise, you realize something powerful. Prayer doesn't just prepare you for what's ahead. It transforms who you are becoming. It teaches you to lead with love, to listen before reacting, to see God in ordinary moments, in a smile, in a song, in the way light touches your coffee cup. Because God doesn't only speak in churches, He speaks in mornings, in whispers, in stillness, and the ones who learn to listen there carry heaven wherever they go. So tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, don't rush, don't scroll. Just stay still for a moment and say, "Good morning, Lord. Thank you for today." Let your spirit breathe before your body moves. Let your heart open before your hands begin to work. And as you pray, imagine heaven opening above you. Angels setting things in motion, favor going before you, peace wrapping around you. And God smiling, saying, "This is how I wanted you to start, with me." Because every day begun with prayer ends with victory, no matter what the hours in between look like. So pray first. Pray before you start your day, before the meetings, before the messages, before the plans. Just pray. Because prayer is not a morning task. It's a daily transformation. It's where heaven touches earth and your story aligns with His. And when you learn to live like that, when prayer becomes the rhythm of your rising, every day becomes sacred. Every sunrise becomes a sign of mercy. Every moment becomes a miracle in progress. And you look back someday and realize the most powerful thing you ever did was simply say every morning, "Lord, I'm here. Lead me."